Deep research can return dozens of sources, careful citations, and pages of polished prose, yet still leave you unsure what to do. The failure often begins before the search. The request names a topic, but not the decision the research must support. OpenAI Academy describes research as a path from questions to evidence-backed insights and decisions. Its guidance separates fast search from multi-step deep research and recommends an outline, sub-questions, a source strategy, evaluation criteria, citations, and an explicit account of what is still missing. Those pieces point to a better way to ask. Do not send a vague topic into a powerful research tool. Give it a compact contract that defines the decision, the scope, the evidence standard, the gaps it must expose, and the shape of the final deliverable. In this video, we will build that contract as a decision-ready research brief. You will learn how to choose the right research depth, turn one decision into a scoped plan, judge evidence instead of merely collecting links, surface uncertainty, and request an output that can actually move work forward. Keep one principle in view: good research is not measured by how much material it gathers. It is measured by whether another person can inspect the evidence, understand the limits, and make the next decision. Start with the decision, not the topic. Research the home care market, names a subject. Decide which customer segment our regional service should enter next year, gives the research a user, a consequence, and a finish line. Name the audience as well. A founder choosing a market needs different evidence from a product manager prioritizing features or a policy team assessing regulatory exposure. The same facts can be organized differently because the decision and the accountable reader are different. Then name the deliverable that would make the decision possible. It might be a one-page executive brief, a competitor comparison, a recommendation memo, an annotated bibliography, or a table of market signals with dates and confidence. A deliverable gives the research a visible end state. Choose search or deep research based on the work, not the prestige of the tool. Search is enough for fast orientation and current updates. Deep research earns its cost when the question needs multiple steps, conflicting sources, several sub-questions, or a structured synthesis that others must audit. For example, what happened in grocery delivery during the last 90 days may begin with search. How is private label adoption changing competitive exposure, and what should a branded manufacturer do, needs multiple evidence threads and a decision-ready brief. The common failure is upgrading every fuzzy question into deep research. More depth cannot repair a missing decision. It only produces a larger pile of information whose relevance no one has defined. First, connect the research to one accountable decision and audience. Second, define the deliverable that would make that decision possible. Third, choose research depth from the number of steps and evidence threads required. Before gathering sources, ask for a research outline. OpenAI Academy specifically recommends sub-questions, a source strategy, and evaluation criteria. This turns the request from "go find things" into a plan that can be checked before expensive work begins. Break the main question into sub-questions that together support the decision. A market entry study might ask about demand, buyer behavior, competitor strength, regulation, unit economics, and operational constraints. Each sub-question should change the recommendation or remove a known uncertainty. Set scope boundaries in advance: region, timeframe, customer group, product category, comparison set, and explicit exclusions. Without boundaries, the researcher may combine global and local evidence, current and historical data, or consumer and enterprise markets into one smooth but invalid conclusion. Write a source strategy instead of saying, "use reliable sources." Prioritize primary material such as official announcements, filings, government data, technical documentation, and original research. Then use reputable secondary reporting for context, contradiction, and interpretation. Define evaluation criteria for relevance, authority, recency, methodology, and agreement across sources. If two strong sources conflict, the job is not to average them silently. The research should explain the difference in definitions, samples, incentives, or dates. The common failure is treating the outline as bureaucracy. In reality, the outline is the cheapest review point. It reveals missing questions, impossible scope, and weak source choices before they become a polished report. First, decompose the decision into sub-questions that can change the recommendation. Second, bound the research by region, timeframe, population, and exclusions. Third, declare the source strategy and evaluation criteria before collection begins. Citations are necessary, but citations alone are not an evidence standard. A link proves where a statement came from. It does not prove that the source is authoritative, current, independent, or relevant to the claim being made. Require citations for consequential claims and ask for a source quality check when accuracy matters. The reviewer should be able to open the evidence, see the publication date, understand who produced it, and judge whether its method fits the conclusion. Separate well-supported findings from directional observations. A measured result from a defined sample is different from an emerging signal, an expert interpretation, or a company claim. The report should preserve those categories instead of blending them into one confident voice. Use triangulation where the decision is important. One primary source may establish a fact, an independent source may test the interpretation, a current data point may show whether the pattern still holds. Agreement increases confidence, while disagreement becomes a visible research result. A simple evidence ledger is enough: claim, source, date, source type, quality note, supporting or conflicting evidence, and confidence. This ledger does not need to appear in the executive summary, but it should remain available for audit. The common failure is optimizing for the number of links. 10 weak citations do not outweigh one strong, relevant source. Evidence quality comes from the relationship between the claim, the source, and the decision. First, require traceable citations for claims that can change the decision. Second, evaluate source quality instead of treating every link as equal. Third, separate established findings, directional observations, and conflicts. Ask for a "What is missing" section before the research starts. OpenAI Academy recommends surfacing unknowns, disputed areas, and data limitations. This is not an apology at the end, it is part of the research product. Unknowns should be specific. More research is needed, says nothing. No current regional churn data was found, the two surveys use different age bands, or pricing is available only for enterprise plans, tells the decision maker exactly where confidence is limited. Define stop conditions for material gaps. If a key primary source is inaccessible, two authoritative records conflict, or the requested timeframe has no usable data, the researcher should return the blocker and the smallest decision needed to continue, rather than inventing a smooth substitute. Keep one logical boundary clear: absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. A search that finds no public incidents may mean there were none, but it may also mean reporting is incomplete, terminology differs, or the relevant records are private. Attach confidence to the recommendation and name what would change it. Weak signals, new filings, revised data, or a pending policy decision may deserve a monitoring list rather than a definitive conclusion. This turns uncertainty into an actionable watch plan. The common failure is hiding gaps to make the report feel complete. That increases rhetorical confidence while reducing decision quality. A visible limit is safer and more useful than a silent assumption. First, require a specific account of unknowns, disputes, and data limits. Second, use stop conditions when missing evidence could change the recommendation. Third, state confidence and the evidence that would change it. Now combine the method into one decision-ready research brief. The brief is not a magic prompt. It is a compact contract that lets the researcher plan, gather, evaluate, and deliver work against visible expectations. Field 1 is decision and audience: who will use the work, what they must decide, and by when. Field 2 is question and scope: the main question, region, timeframe, population, comparison set, and exclusions. Field 3 is research plan and source strategy: the sub-questions, priority source types, and evaluation criteria. Field 4 is evidence standard: which claims need citations, how source quality should be recorded, and how conflicts should be handled. Field 5 is gaps and confidence: required unknowns, stop conditions, limitations, and what evidence could change the conclusion. Field 6 is deliverable and next action: format, required sections, length, audience, recommendation, evidence appendix, and the decision or follow-up that comes next. After the first report, use targeted follow-ups instead of restarting vaguely. Go deeper on the decisive uncertainty. Validate a contested claim with stronger sources. Compare two options under the same criteria. Update the brief when the scope or acceptance standard changes. The common failure is writing a ceremonial prompt full of context that cannot affect the research. Every field should change the plan, the evidence, the evaluation, or the deliverable. If a sentence changes none of those, remove it. First, package decision, scope, plan, evidence, gaps, and delivery in one brief. Second, make every field change how the research is performed or reviewed. Third, iterate by deepening, validating, or comparing the decisive uncertainty. Decision-ready research does not begin with a broad topic and end with a pile of links. It begins with one accountable decision and a plan for turning evidence into a usable next action. First, define the audience, decision, deliverable, scope, and appropriate research depth. Second, plan sub-questions and sources, then require citations, quality checks, and visible conflicts. Third, expose missing evidence and confidence, and deliver the recommendation with its limits and next action. Use the decision-ready research brief on your next investigation. If the decision, scope, source strategy, evidence standard, gaps, or deliverable is vague, repair that field before asking for more depth. Follow Tiny Agent. Tiny Agent helps you get better at using AI.